Hi everyone, I'm Salem, I'm 20 years old, and I almost made a mistake that would have ruined my entire future. But before I tell you about what that all has to do with a family secret, make sure to like and subscribe to get more hidden wisdom stories. Everybody assumes I'm a rich girl when I tell them that I got accepted to an Ivy League university. But I'm not rich at all. Scholarships were the only reason I could afford to attend. But college was finally my chance to reinvent myself. In high school, I was ignored by most of the student body, and I figured college would be filled with mature minds like mine. I found a sorority that I liked, but they slammed the door in my face when they realized I was on scholarship. Apparently, being popular in college was no different than in high school. I wanted to fit in like anybody else, and one night at the library, I got my opportunity. It was almost closing time, and Alicia, one of those rich Greek girls, was in such a hurry that she almost knocked me over running out of the copy room. Then, I found something in the machine. It was the original copy of this math test, and I was about to alert the librarian, but Alicia stopped me. She said that I found her in a pretty tight spot and begged me not to say anything. Then she gave me this whole sob story about how she was pledging and the sisters were making her prove herself by stealing the test. Don't say anything, and maybe I can get you in. And like that, she was gone. It kept me up all night. If I ratted them out, I would seal my fate as a teacher's pet forever. And if I kept my mouth shut, I might find myself invited to pledge, which could do a lot for me. Believe it or not, this is where my story starts to get a little strange. A premonition came to me in a dream, like a flash. I saw myself with Alicia and all these other girls I'd seen around campus. I felt this warmth. I felt popular. I was laughing with everyone around me, and I finally felt like I was in on the joke. And there was a guy in my dream, and he looked at me differently than any guy had ever looked at me, and it made me feel great. When I woke up, it's what I wanted more than anything. Just to be popular, to have a boyfriend, to feel like I belonged. I caught up with Alicia before class and told her that her secret was safe with me as long as she returned the test. She smiled and invited me to come by the sorority house that evening. On Alicia's recommendation, I was welcome to pledge. And even though they had some wacky traditions, it was great fun. And at my first party, the guy from my dream was there. His name was Calvin, and we felt sparks right away. Just when I didn't think my life could get any more topsy-turvy, I had another dream. But this time, it wasn't exactly a premonition. It was a message. There was a man waiting for me, and he said if I wanted to impress the sisters, I should follow the address. He wrote it down and told me to memorize it. Well, when I woke up, the address was written on a paper by my bed. I was afraid of what I might find at the address, so I called Calvin, who was now, officially my boyfriend. He drove, and the address led us to a gorgeous mansion. On the front doors, we found an envelope with my name on it. Whoever lived there was expecting me, and I knocked on the door, but nobody answered. When I opened up the envelope, 2 keys fell out, along with a copy of the deed, which showed the house to be in my name. There was a note that said, "You've earned it." This had to be a prank, but the keys worked. Inside, it was like a castle. "What in the world is going on with you?" Calvin said, but I didn't have an answer for him. I tried to call the mortgaging company, but they all just said the house belonged to me, so I could do with it as I pleased. So I moved in, and soon, I was the most popular girl in the sorority because my parties were the best. I had so much space that we could do theme rooms, host more people than before. I had enough land to throw outdoor concerts and pool parties. But the party came to a stop one day in class when our professor announced that he knew that the midterm test had been stolen. To prove it, he had camera footage that showed somebody breaking into the classroom and rummaging through his desk. I guess I was having such a great time with my new social life that I forgot about what kick-started it all to begin with. But the professor's warning put a lump in my throat. The school was going to do a complete investigation. I couldn't sleep that night, but Alicia was cucumber cool about it and said she had a plan. She told me that they were going to frame it on this girl from a rival sorority. I told her that we couldn't frame another student. But Alicia confessed that this girl caught her returning the test, and she was going to say something if we didn't do anything. "It's my word against hers," Alicia said. "But if it was our word against hers, she'd be outnumbered." She asked me to say that I saw this other girl stealing the test. She was pressing me about it, saying that it was our only chance out of this mess. "We have to protect ourselves," she said. It wasn't fair to this innocent girl, but if I said anything, I could say goodbye to the sorority. I could say goodbye to my popular life. Heck, I bet even Calvin would ditch me if I ratted everyone out. I had another premonition. This time when I woke up, I wrote down a new address. But this one led to an old diner, and in the back, I saw the man from my dream. He kind of freaked me out, and I was about to go. But that old guy caught up with me in the parking lot. "Salem?" he said. He knew my name, and that made me curious enough to talk to him, but when I got in his face, I could see he was tearing up. I interrogated him. "What is this? Who are you?" "When you're connected with someone," he said, "words become meaningless." He took my hand and pressed his forehead to mine, and suddenly his story came to me. I recognized my mother in it, and then I knew this man to be my long-lost father. "I finally found you." I heard his voice in my own head. He had quite a story. Our family had been endowed with a gift, an ability to see the future and communicate telepathically. My mother discovered his abilities, and it frightened her so much that she ran off. It was later she found out she was pregnant with me. In addition to being telepathic, my father was a millionaire, and he was the one who bought the mansion and was sending me the visions in my dreams. He said we had to be very careful to use it for good. Too often these gifts are abused for personal gain and selfishness. But I still had a question for him. I asked if there was any way to know for sure what was right and what was wrong. His advice was simple. "Sleep on it," he said. And I did. That night, I was exhausted from the revelations about myself and my family, and sleep wasn't a problem. In my dream, which felt realer than real, I went along with Alicia and her plan. But the other girl was able to prove that she was at work the night the test was stolen, and the eyes came back to me and Alicia. We worried together, and we agreed to stay silent and not say a word. But then, when her family lawyer got involved, it was me that they ultimately pinned it on, and since I had been loyal to disloyal people, in the end I took the blame and watched my college plans burn. When I woke up, I had no more doubts. Everything was crystal clear. I tracked down Alicia and I told her the gig was up, that she could tell the professor everything, or I would. She was angry and cursed at me and said my social life was over. She said Calvin would leave me and everyone would turn their back, that I would go back to being a nothing on campus. But I didn't care about popularity anymore. I knew who I was, and I wasn't a liar. There's a proverb maybe you've heard, "Birds of a feather flock together." You have to pick your friends carefully because their actions reflect on you in a big way. I wanted to have friends and be popular, but I took the easy way in, instead of taking the time to choose friends that were going to bring out the best in me. I figured that Calvin was going to call me some kind of traitor. But I was surprised when he told me that he admired what I did. He said that most people just do whatever the sorority sisters say, and to see somebody make up their own mind was really attractive. Well, that's one of the few things I didn't see coming, but I'm glad we ended up together. I think Calvin's going to be good for me. What kind of birds do you flock with? Tell us about it in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more hidden wisdom stories. Remember, when you share our stories, you're sharing wisdom.